Have you ever had to speak publicly in front of a group of people or a camera, whether it was for a public service announcement, a vlog, a homework assignment, or even a presentation in class? Did you feel anxiety? Were you nervous? Was the pressure on because people were watching you? This is why you should take speech communication online. This course allows you to retake videos, become comfortable with speaking in front of a camera, and gives you the satisfaction that no one is watching except for your peers on Google Hangouts who are going through the exact same thing and are very supportive. This course has taught me so much about publicly speaking and speaking in front of a camera. I've spoken solely just in front of a camera and to a group of people on Google Hangouts and to a group of family members, friends, and peers that took their time to listen to my speech for a grade. I learned about perception and self-communication. I learned about how I speak, about what is easiest for me to talk about, and basically just like my stutters. I learned about those and how to control them, and I still haven't controlled them completely, but they've definitely gotten better since the beginning of the course. I learned about the introduction to speech and communication, about lighting, about background, and how it should be aesthetically pleasing. I learned about language and meaning. I learned about nonverbal communication, which was also a big factor in learning about my own communication. I learned about a lot of my nonverbal communication, such as looking around when I'm nervous and also playing with my hands. I learned about listening to other people's speeches. In Google Hangouts, when I was listening to other people's speeches, I saw their own self-communication, and I learned from their mistakes, and I also learned from their victories. I learned about critical thinking. When you are researching or even reading or even listening to someone else's speech, if you're critically thinking about it, you're going to learn more. I learned about interpersonal communication and how to act, how to speak, the volume, the tone. I learned about intercultural communication, which was actually very interesting. I learned about adapting to different cultures and having to compromise some of your own self-communication practices to be able to successfully communicate with a person from a different culture. I learned about small group communication and how it's much different from workplace communication. I learned a lot about workplace communication, and that was also a big benefit for me because it helped me come up with a good resume and good etiquette for interviews for a workplace. I learned about topic selection. Picking out a topic for your speech can be tricky, but if you find something that you're passionate about or that you are able to research a lot on and prepare yourself for, it makes the speeches a lot easier to get through. I learned about audience analysis. So watching my peers in Google Hangouts and how they reacted to what I was saying let me know what was interesting to them, what caught their attention, what they understood and what they didn't understand about my speech, and allowed me to kind of go over the things that they didn't understand. I learned about credibility. People won't listen to you if you're not credible. They're not going to take anything that you're saying seriously if they know that you're not credible. So that brings us to using evidence. You must always use credible evidence. Citing your resources is very important when you're talking about surveys and statistics. I learned about organizing presentations. We did a couple outlines that really helped me not only organize my presentation on paper, but also in my mind, because after writing out my outlines, I knew it in my head and I knew the exact order that I was going to speak in. I learned about the delivery of presentations and visual presentations. When you are publicly speaking, it's good to use visuals in your presentation because it will sort of create an image in your audience's mind. I learned about informative and persuasive speeches. Informative speeches are basically explaining things to the audience, and a persuasive presentation is like trying to persuade them or trying to get them to do the action that you're trying to persuade them to do. So if you have ever had to speak publicly or to a camera and you had anxiety or you were nervous or the pressure was on because you're not used to talking in front of people or a camera, I highly suggest that you take this class online.